everybody, it's Lori with YesLowell.com, and we are back with Brandon Howard for another segment in the Howard Power Fitness series. And today we are going to be talking about myths in eating.
Yes.
So I'm going to use the D word in the wrong way, diet myths. So these are the ways that people are trending in food that sometimes work, sometimes don't, usually aren't long-term, but there are some good things about different styles of eating, some of these trends. So Brandon's going to unpack these things a little bit for us to help us understand what they are, what the benefits are, and what, the negatives are, so that we can really kind of think about the way that we eat outside of a trend and really make a plan to just be in a sustainable eating pattern.
Yes.
Because really it's about long term. Like, who cares if you lose 18 pounds in 3 months, which happened to me once on one of these plans, and then it's not sustainable because you're bored out of your mind or super overwhelmed with eating the same thing all the time, and then you just gain it all right back in the next 3 months. So we're going to talk about that. Brandon, hit us. What do we need to know?
Well, first thing that you really need to realize is that you are one of one. And so you have to do something that's going to work for you. And far too often we rely on other people's experiences. Well, this worked for such and such, so I'm going to try it.
Right.
And inherently there's nothing really wrong with that, but then when that thing doesn't work for you, you feel like it is a knock against yourself. When that comparison thing, when that diet wasn't necessarily meant for you in the first place. So remember, you are one of one, and what might work for somebody else may not work for you, and that's okay. The next thing you want to look at is just that word diet. We talked about this, at length before, but most diets, if you really look at them, they are temporary solutions for permanent problems. So most of the diets, you're not even supposed to be on for long term. So look at it. Whole30, what is that, 30 days? Yeah. Most people, they do keto. They don't do it for years. And when I'm talking long term, I'm not talking about a couple of months. I'm talking about years down the road.
Yeah, lifestyle.
Total lifestyle change. So if it's not something that you can do from here on out, this is something you really should be getting to. We're a microwave society, so I understand that we want to kind of get things done now. Yeah. But your life and your body is the most long-term project you want to be working on. It's forever. You only have one. Yeah. You only have one. So I hate to use that word diet, but I gotta be fluent.
Yeah. This is just one context of the word. It's not the way that we want to use it all the time.
So one thing I want to talk. I want to say is about these diets, whether it's keto, whether it's paleo, whether it's low carb, no carb, or whatever. There are millions of other diets. Do a Google search and say diet, and
just get on Facebook and you're gonna get hit with 17 different programs.
I'm gonna tell you a secret. Come here close. All of them work. You're like, wait a minute, but you just said a temporary solution for permanent problems.
And the guy in YesLowell is lying about nutrition.
What? What's going on? But you just said all of them work. And yes. So if you're looking at losing weight, they all work. You'll lose weight. You might gain it back, but you'll lose. And in that sense, they all work. Most diets, if not all diets, work by calorie reduction.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So if you're doing, keto, guess what? You're not eating carbs. So you're taking away a whole food group. You're going to lose weight because of that. If you're a, vegetarian, you probably take away some of your higher fatty meats and steaks and burgers and, wings and things of that nature. Guess what? Calorie deficit. It's there. So that is how the majority of your diets work. What makes one more sustainable over the other is how long can you actually do it? Yeah. That's a question only the individual can answer. For some people, the keto way of eating works for them long term. And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. I did it, and I loved eating as much bacon and cheese and all of that jazz as I wanted. Avocados and shrimp and all of this goodness for like the first couple of weeks. And then by the end of, I did a 12-week cycle. It was part of an experiment kind of thing at the place where I was working at the time. And it was done really well. There was a lot of education as part of that. There was a lot of support and accountability, which is all important, no matter how you're eating. But I got to the end of it, and I was like, if I have to see one more block of cheese. And that made me so sad because I love cheese. And I don't have a dairy issue, and I'm really glad that I don't have a lactose intolerance because so many of my friends do. And I want to be able to enjoy that all the time in a little bit, but it was too much of those kinds of things.
I'll let you know another secret. Your diet does not have to be restricted. What if I told you that you could eat whatever you wanted to on your diet?
I would say.
You'd love that. You'd love that. Because that is true. You can. We just have to do it in a way that is balanced and is proportional to our needs.
Okay.
Now, if someone said, "Oh my gosh, you said I can eat burgers and fries," yes, I'm saying that, but you can't eat them every day.
Not all day, not every day.
All right, so don't twist what I'm saying now. Don't twist. You know how we as humans do.
Oh yeah.
But you can eat those things. You just have to work on your balance. You have to work on how that fits in your plan for that day. So it doesn't need to be restrictive. You don't have to say, "Well, I'm not eating carbs." Well, I'm not eating, because really, carbs taste amazing. Who's really going without carbs for too long? Most of the people that I know that do low carb do it for a certain amount of time, lose the weight, yay! And then they're like, "Man, I gotta have.
I really miss a biscuit."
I need some fries. And then boom, we're going back on there.
Yeah.
So what if you plan on saying, "You know what? I know that carbs, I easily overeat carbs. Okay. So maybe I set aside maybe a day or two where I can, go without. But the other times I'm eating them in moderate amounts. I'm eating more whole grains. I'm eating more whole grain breads, more rice, more whole grain pastas in smaller portions. It doesn't have to be no. It just may need to be a little bit lower than what you're doing now.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be restricted on what you're eating. That tends to be a trend, for a lot of these diets. A restriction. You have to eat this. You have to stay here. And that works for some people, but come on now. You tell an adult they can't do. What happens down the road?
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Right? And I think that's when I have two kids, and you tell them they can't do something, they start throwing a fit.
Don't touch that.
And then when I tell them they can't do it, they don't even want anymore. So I mean, it's the same. It's the same kind of concept with us.
We can play that game with ourselves.
We can play this game as adults here, so it doesn't have to be restricted. The next thing is, your diet needs to be flexible. And that's one thing that's kind of missing.
Most of those trends are not flexible.
They're not very flexible. They're very rigid. But not just flexible on a day-to-day basis, maybe even on an hour-to-hour basis. Because our lives can change.
Oof, that's true. Yeah.
Quickly, right? So you have to be willing to adjust and to adapt to what's going on. And far too often we are taught and conditioned to in this box.
Yeah. Unless you are a mime, I am not playing that.
I'm not playing that game. So, those are some of the trends there. And, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about some of these diets and the money attached to them and everything like that. But I'm just saying, you got to follow the money. But that's topic for another day. Topic for a whole other day. But you definitely have to be flexible with what you're doing. You have to be able to stick and move. If you're going to have a dinner that's out, well, that means earlier in the day you need to kind of back off what you're doing. Because when you go out to eat, you're going to go a little bit overboard. So you really have to be flexible.
Yeah. So help us understand a little bit about some of the ones that we hear most frequently. So, for example, paleo. What does it mean to eat paleo? What are a couple of benefits of that specific thing? And what are some ways that maybe it doesn't allow for that long-term sustainability?
Well, and again, this is not a super deep dive into paleo because we would need more time
Oh,
for
absolutely,
that, obviously.
yeah.
So basically, paleo is just low carb diet.
Oh,
At the
okay.
end of the day, it's low carb because
Gotcha.
it's high in protein
Okay.
and low in rice and pastas and breads
Yeah.
and even certain vegetables and certain fruits because of the higher carb load.
Right.
So the benefit of that would be you're reducing your calories
Right.
because if you're eating proteins, which are generally lower in calorie,
Yeah.
eating vegetables, which are generally low in calorie,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to have a calorie deficit, and then bam, the pounds are just going to magically melt right off.
Right. So I'm feeling a trend coming already.
You're feeling it, uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So keto is essentially also a low carb, but
Yep.
you're also being intentional about having more fat.
Mhm.
I know. I remember this.
Yes.
But it's not just as much fatty stuff as you want all the time, right? Or
Well,
is it?
kind of. So the brief history on keto is actually used in some situations for epilepsy.
Oh.
And so they found that some of the ketones that the body makes in response to this type of diet helps actually reduce seizures.
Really?
So it's actually a way for some individuals. They go on this and their seizures will decrease.
Wow, that's cool.
We're not eating that way.
No, we don't all have that need.
Well, and the thing about it is, the way that you eat for that is so low in carb. It's basically 5% of your diet comes from carbs. We're not going to be in ketosis or whatever the hot phrase is.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. So it's basically at this stage right now, it's mostly a low carb diet.
Okay.
That, because you are lowering your calories, tends to help you with that. Now, it helps you lower your calories because when you do combine protein and fat, you tend to stay full a little bit longer. So staying full a little bit longer
Makes you eat less.
over time, which does what to your calories over time?
Drops your
calories
This
down.
is the trend.
This is a trend.
So I guess the same can be said for things like Whole30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the root, and I don't mean to sound,
We're
like
not
I'm dumbing this.
dissing
I'm not
any of
dissing
these.
anything. But at the end of the day, if you really look at any of the diets that are out, the main mechanism for change is going to be a reduction in calories over time. Most of us eat far too many calories. And it's so easy to do because of the food.
It's mindless.
It's mindless. It's
Yeah.
mindless. The average entree at a restaurant is 12 or 1,300 calories.
Really?
Yeah.
That's almost,
That's-
and in some cases, exactly what you'd be eating a whole day, right?
Exactly, or
Wow.
darn near close to it. So if you all of a sudden, and some people eat out, once or twice a day, right? Right? So if you reduce that, guess what's going to happen? Your deficit increases and your weight starts to come off. It's not magic. It's you're eating less food over time because you went from eating You went from eating 13, and that's just the entree. That's not including the appetizer,
And those free
the
rolls
dessert,
they
the
bring you,
rolls,
all that stuff.
So you start cutting that out. You start going from a 2,500 calorie lunch down to an 800 calorie lunch. Come on now.
There it is.
Come on, that's where it all goes down to. So, and I will admit this too. This is not to say that all of those diets don't have any positives to it, but if you're looking at some of the Whole30s and some of the other ones, they do give you an emphasis on, I should eat more fruits and vegetables.
Quality food.
Yeah, they eat more quality foods.
Less processed.
Correct. So there's nothing that inherently awful about them per se.
Right.
You can always, and even me personally, I will pick and choose from a little bit of each and every one of them and kind of form something that fits me.
Yeah.
And I think that's very fair for anyone to do. But at the end of the day, most of these diets, if not all of them, work by just reducing your calories over time.
Yeah.
And now if you were to stick with these diets for years and years on end, you keep that up. But if it's not sustainable, gonna be right back where you were.
Yeah, or if you're like
Unfortunately.
me and you just get really bored and you
There
need
you
some
go.
variety, which is
There you
we're
go.
going to talk in our next episode about balance
Yes,
and how to achieve
yes,
that. So
yes.
we'll save that for next time. But I think that what I'm hearing you say is that in and of themselves, none of these are like bad. They're teaching you calorie reduction.
Correct.
Some of them are teaching you to just choose better quality calories to eat.
Yeah, some of them, yeah.
So there are good things and there are not so great things about all of them. Some people might be able to do it forever, other people might not.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we're going to go back to what you said at the beginning, and diets are a temporary solution
for a permanent problem.
For a permanent problem.
Yep.
And so we need to find permanent solutions and live better.
Yep. And that includes, fixing our relationship with food. For a lot of us, food is a coping mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
So when we are upset, had a long day at work, chips.
Yep. Yeah. Or when we're just bored and we're at work, chips.
Or chips.
Something.
Oh my gosh, somebody got promoted. We're going to go out to eat. I'm going to order the whole. So we have to fix our relationship with food, and instead of it being the centerpiece of what we're going for, bring it out, let it be the accessory, and be more people focused. So that way those individuals are now the focus and the food is just adding to.
Yeah.
Now the food is the center and the people are adding to the food experience. Let's change that. Let's flip that just a little bit. Yeah.
So
food, your healthy food, another tip. Your healthy food does not have to taste bad. It pains me when people say, "Yeah, I had to eat all this, and it just tastes bad. I hate rutabagas." And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
You can enjoy delicious foods and still be healthy.
There you have it. So, myth busting. There's no magical solution out there on the market or any plan. Your diet, in the good sense, is your eating. It's what you eat, and it's going to be different for everybody in the way you go about achieving your goals, whether it's maintaining your weight or losing weight, or even for some people I know needing to gain some weight.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's going to be different for every person. And once again, if you need help or you have questions or you need some resources, check the link at the bottom of the page. You can always get in touch with this guy and talk some more. He is available at Howard Power Fitness, and he is an exclusive trainer at Baptist Health Milestone Wellness Center in St. Matthews. So check out Brandon's resources below and give him a call if you need some help. Thanks for being here today, and join us next talking about balance.